Welcome to Sandlot and the Crew, where Sandlot Radio Show meets Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball. I'm your host, Will Kiger, a.k.a. Wrecking Yard Will, and we are live from the Wrecking Yard here in Torrance, California, beautiful South Bay. We got next to me, I got Taishi Nakawake. He is currently in the Chicago White Sox organization. Very happy to have him. He played Juco right here at El Camino and was D1 at UC Irvine. Next to him, we have Wrecking Yard Wrecking Crew owner-operator Mason Morioka, former D1 player and professional player. Next to him, we have young coach on the rise, Jake Hicks. He was on the first ever Wrecking Crew team. He helps us out here with teams and does some lessons. Happy to have him. So being that we have a professional player here right now, another former pro, Taishi went Juco route. Mason went D1 straight out of high school. I thought it'd be interesting to kind of hear some of those different perspectives, talk about Taishi's experience in the minor leagues this last year. So first, I just want to get an idea of Taishi. You know, what were you like in high school as a senior? You know, what were some of the stats you put up? Did you ever think you were going to end up a professional, or where were you at that point?
I think in high school, I've always wanted to be a professional baseball player. That's like all I've wanted to do in my life. But I don't think I'd ever say that I thought I would be in this situation that I am now. I think in high school, like, I was a good defender, super skinny, like couldn't really hit at all. I wasn't ready to go to a Division I school. Like, as much as I wanted to, I don't think skill set wise and body and, like, honestly maturity wise, I just wasn't ready to take that leap. And I mean, Mason went straight out of high school. He can attest to this. Going from high school to a Division I baseball is just such a big leap.
Huge.
In terms of, you're playing with guys that are seniors in college. The level of baseball, especially in the South Bay here, you're going from facing, like, 80 to 85, shitty breaking ball, to a Division I school where it's 90, 95 pretty consistently with guys that can locate 3 pitches.
Command.
Right, and, like, you're really playing there for 4 years to win championships, right? And it's like you have to learn to play as a team, and you have to do your part to be ready to play. And I think out of high school, I just was not ready to take that leap.
And most guys aren't. Mason, scoot back just a little bit. I can't see Jake. So, Tice, do you remember any of your stats from senior year as far as average or any of that? Did you hit any home runs?
No,
And also,
I hit no home runs.
No home runs.
No home runs.
What about batting average?
Batting average? I don't know what I was at.
Did you crack 3?
I want to say that I cracked 3, but, like, I was a pretty shitty hitter, so
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I did.
Taishi's been known for the glove for a long time.
Yeah.
Tremendous
Yeah.
shortstop. I've heard high praise from a lot of people about this guy's defensive abilities. So you didn't have any offers, right?
No offers.
No offers. So you go to El Camino right here. What high school you went to? West
I went
or Torrance?
to North High School for my first 2 years, and then I transferred to Torrance High School for my last 2 years.
Gotcha. So what was it like going to Elko? You know, did you redshirt? Did you have success right away? Did you put on a bunch of muscle? Like, what happened when you went to Elko? What was that like?
My first year at Elko, I played really good in the fall. So I really wasn't – I was probably like the third shortstop that was supposed to play. Like, I had 2 guys ahead of me. I ended up hitting really good in the fall, and then my defense, along with my hitting, got me my starting position. But as the season came along, I just, like, couldn't hit at all. Like, I think I finished, like, hitting 149. Ended up not even starting when we got into our playoff run. So I just had a terrible first year there. And then my second year, I was like 150 out of high school, just like string. And then our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Jones, was like awesome. So I really learned how to lift. Ended up getting to like 180 by my second year.
Wow. So you put on 30 freaking pounds.
Put on 30
how much
pounds,
of that, how much of, obviously he taught you how to lift, but how much of that did he teach you about the nutrition? And how much did that make an impact?
I think that's a big thing too. I think especially when you get to college, you're a little bit more, you're not in class as much, so you have a lot more free time to do what you need to do in order to get to practice. I think when you go to college for baseball, it's really oriented around baseball more than school, like, to be honest. And I think nutrition is big. I think in high school I was probably eating like 2 meals max a day.
Yeah.
You know, and like just doing curls.
That's
like
Mason now.
Yeah.
like doing curls like an idiot, thinking I was like really lifting.
Yeah.
And then as I got to college and like learned a little more about how to lift and how to, you know, the things that you have to eat in order to gain and sustain that muscle.
Right.
Helped a lot in terms of like whether you have to, you know, drink a protein shake after you lift, before you go to sleep. Make sure you're getting like your carbs and your proteins in like before and after practice.
Absolutely.
Helped a lot. And I think at Elko, it was a really good junior college compared to maybe some of the other junior colleges.
Yeah, Elko's
around here.
a very, for those who don't know, it's a really legit, great facilities.
It's a legit college.
You know, it's a winning tradition
Right.
there. So this is a California JUCO, a Southern
Right.
Cal. Like to put it, this is not some Kansas JUCO. No disrespect, but there's levels to the JUCO
Right.
game.
Yep.
So you go bust your ass in the weight room, put on 30 pounds, which is incredible to do in 1 year. What
2 years.
2 years? Okay, so what was the performance? Were you there 2 or 3 years?
I was there for 2 years.
2 years. So what was the performance year 2?
Year 2, I honestly had a really bad fall.
Mm-hmm.
And then when season started around, I happened to have a pretty good offensive year. And then my defense was a lot better than my first year there. And I also think a big thing too is I had a lot of good guys around me.
Right.
You know, like a lot of my teammates were guys that helped me push me off the field in terms of like making sure that I lift. You know, like I had good guys around me that I had guys that I would lift with, hit with off the field. Like I think worth ethic is a big thing that you learn in college that separates guys. Because when you go to college, a lot of times it's the best guys in high school are the ones that continue to play.
Right.
And once you're there, you're basically all at the same level. And what really separates you is how much work you want to put in. And from there, that's what separates the guys who move on and the guys who, you know, finish their careers at whatever.
If you're if you're a high schooler, middle schooler watching this, freaking rewind that last minute and a half and listen to that every day, because that is the big separator right there.
Right.
Do you remember what your numbers were sophomore year?
I think I finished like 299.
So you jumped like 100, almost 200 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge, massive jump.
And then defensively, I don't know what my numbers were defensively, but I had a good year.
Solid
Yeah, I
year.
had a
That
good
was never the issue, was the defense.
Right. It was always my hitting.
So Mason, your situation was different. You were kind of a big star in high school, you know, started varsity very young, put up a lot of great numbers. You know, everybody knew about you in this area, had multiple Division I offers. So what was that like for you in high school, and then, you know, kind of making your decision to go to USF?
So Taish kind of hit it on the head. The jump from high school baseball to college baseball, especially Division I, it's an incredible leap. You know, going from seeing, you know, on a pretty consistent basis, you know, 82 to 85 with the fastball, you know, to Division I baseball where it's 90 to 95. And, you know, the sliders are now coming in at high 80s, mid 80s, and, you know, it's breaking 16 inches, you know, where I wasn't used to seeing that.
Right.
You know, so kind of looking back on my career, you know, I wish I could have gone the JUCO route. You know, like Taish, I don't feel like offensively I was ready to make that leap. It's just different. It's different, you know, seeing the low to mid 90s fastballs every single time you step in the batter's box, you know, and even in high school, it was like, get to the bullpen.
Right.
You know, because those arms aren't as good as the starter that you're about to face.
Yeah.
You know, but when you get to college, it's like,
You might
now-
be seeing somebody in the 70s.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but when you get to college and, you know, the Friday night guy is throwing mid to low 90s, you know, and then you get to the bullpen and it's like, well, crap. Now it's 95 to 97.
It's even faster.
Exactly. You know, so for me, like that was the biggest obstacle.
Right.
You know, so having such success in high school, being a good hitter in high school, being a very good defensive catcher in high school, playing a position where, you know, defense was a premium.
Right.
that's what really got me my looks.
Yeah.
You know,
And Mace is a catcher for anyone who doesn't know that. And very similar to Taishi in that a really, really good defensive catcher. If anything, the bat is what needed some work.
100%.
And I've heard a lot of players, everyone wants to go D1 out of high school, right?
Yep.
That's the dream. Everybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
But I've heard so many guys that are like, man, honestly, if I could go back, I would go to Juco. Because a lot of times, too, at D1, you're sitting the bench, so you're not getting the game reps. At Juco, you'd be actually playing.
100%.
You can save mom and dad some money.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of benefits to going Juco for sure. And so, Mace, where was your body at out of high school? And actually, before you say that, the other part of it is going high school to D1. You're not only the competition is insanely, a level up, but now you got to learn how to be an adult by yourself.
Yep.
You got to be the one who's going to show up. You got to go to practice. You got to go to class. You got to study. You got to do your laundry. Mom and dad aren't there.
Right.
So that's a huge part of it as well. But what was your body like, as a senior and then getting to USF and kind of that transition?
So senior year, I was about 5'9" and a $170 coming out of high school. Kind of like Taish said, the structure of college baseball is just it's different. So we're lifting 3 times a week early in the morning, conditioning 3 times a week. So I put on 15 pounds over the fall my freshman year. So I went from being a $170 to a $185 in a matter of 3-4 months. Just by eating right or eating more.
Were you making a conscious effort to do that? Or was it because you were lifting so much you were hungrier? Or
Yeah, for sure.
You were just hungrier?
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus, when you get to a D1 college, you got the meal plans.
Yep.
Especially if you're an athlete, you probably get a lot of chicken, steak,
Right.
whatever you
100%.
want. Yeah.
They also
100%.
emphasize that a little more too.
They're like, hey,
you have to
eat.
gain a
Yeah.
certain amount of weight. Like you can't end the year what you came in as.
Right.
100%. With that being said, putting on that muscle, it made for easier throws. It made for a lot of easier things to do on the field. Having that amount of strength. But to Taishi's point, he probably got 200 more at bats than I did in my first 2 years of college. I was behind an All-American catcher, Ryan Lipkin. Lip, love you, buddy. But he hit 350 the year before I got there, hit 17 home runs, had over 80 RBIs in 62 games. Just flat out
Monster.
Yeah, flat out monster at the plate.
That's another thing that happens when you go to D1. I mean, shit, you might have a guy who's just an absolute stud,
100%.
draft pick in front of you,
Yep.
and you could be really great, and you might sit the bench for 3 years if it's not the right timing. Jake, you can feel free to jump in with any questions or things you have to say as well.
I was just I was curious. Is it more normalized to go JUCO now than when you came out?
I think, yeah. Unless you're the guy that's, throwing 90 now, has a 90 plus exit velo, hit high 300s in high school. Unless you're that type of player, I think that, in terms of development, it's a way better route to go. It is the JUCO route, because now the age gap isn't as vast. I was really young for my class, so I was still 17 years old when I graduated high school.
Right.
So I'm now going up against guys that are in their early 20s. 20, 21, 22 years old. We played BYU my freshman year, and their Friday night starter was a 24-year-old.
Yeah.
So that age gap, 8 years, no,
6
years. 6 years. I mean, gosh,
It's huge.
I know what my body was like at 26 or 24 years old, and it was vastly different.
It's like a 17-year-old playing against an 11-year-old.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when you put it in that perspective, it's like, holy shit. Especially when at college, there is that huge emphasis on eating weights. So you got a guy who's been lifting and eating for 6 years versus someone who's just now starting. It is absolutely massive. But Taishi, you're living all of our dream right now. We're all living vicariously through you. So I want to hear what it was like. Last year was your first year in the minor leagues, your first spring training. what was it like? Because I remember you were here and you got a call like 3 days before you had to leave or some shit. And so what was it like, man, when you show up to spring training? You got big league guys there. Like, you're there, you're in it. And this is something you dreamed of since a kid. Like, what was that? Did you have a moment that it was like, man, this is surreal? Or like, what was that like?
I think the surreal moment was honestly every day. Just, you're with, like you said, like from high school to college, you're with the best guys. And then from now, like the best guys from college as well are there. I think when I first showed up, I was more terrified of getting released. So I was just trying to get places on time. So I was like,
do not screw this
just
up.
don't fuck this up. Like, just get wherever you need to get on time.
Right.
And then I think as spring training went along, I was able to enjoy it a little more. But it's really cool, man. You see those big league guys pop in here and there on the field. And pro ball is different from, I would say, college and stuff too. Like Mason can attest to this too. But it's very on your own. So like, in college and school, you have a schedule to where you got to go to class. You have to do this. If you don't show up, you get in trouble. There's like repercussions for it. But there, it's like if you don't want to do it, realistically, you don't have to do it.
Right.
It's just your career on the line.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like if you want to show up, you want to show up. If you want to do the work, you don't have to do the work. But aside from that, man, spring training was really cool, dude. I just playing with all the players. You get to play with some prospects and stuff that may be in like AA, AAA and stuff that just like you just happen to be on the same field with them. Pick their brains a little bit. It's cool. I feel like you really learn a lot about yourself in terms of having to prepare of like what you yourself have to do in order to play the game.
So with with spring training, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, there's like a big league spring training and then and then a minor league spring training where they kind of group all the minor leaguers together. So did you get to rub elbows at all with any of the big league guys? Did any of them take any interest in any of you, or what is that like?
So in spring training, basically like the higher prospect guys are in the big league camp in the beginning of the year with those big league guys. And so for us, like I never ran into any big league guys or anything like that. I was basically just with the minor league guys. Once in a while, you have like those like big leaguers who need to rehab, get some at bats, or throw some like live at bats to guys, and you'll see them here and there. But for the most part, unless you're, I would say, a pretty high prospect, you're just with the minor league guys. And then the White Sox, they let a good amount of like you get to back up some big league games. So like you're basically in the dugout, and then if they happen to need you to fill in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, if you happen to need to fill in like the last 2 innings or something on defense, maybe get an at bat, they let you do that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, so I mean, besides that,
so it just felt every day is like a dream. Like, holy shit,
100%.
I can't even believe it.
You're really just showing up to play baseball,
Yeah.
So it's like there's not much you can complain about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Taishi, you can align with me here. Just the difference in baseball. Going from high school to college to pro. In a high school clubhouse, you're lucky if you've got five dudes, alongside of you that have that same dream. And are good enough to live out that dream. You get to college, everyone's around the same level of skill.
Right.
And the goal there is to win. Right? You're there building a culture in your clubhouse. The goal is to get to the College World Series. Right? When you get to pro ball, from everything I've known about pro ball, it's like you said, it's kind of about you, and how you prepare, what kind of numbers you put up. Because like we talked about earlier, off of this camera, is that you push a ball to the right side with a runner on second base and nobody out. In a college dugout, you're getting high praise, you're getting fist bumps, like, hey, way to go! You move the guy over to third, give the guy behind you a chance to score that guy. Whereas in minor league ball, that doesn't get looked at.
Your average just went down.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
They're looking for the guys that are driving that guy in from second base with nobody out.
Yeah.
Once you get to that pro level, so to me, it's just a difference in how the game is played.
That's definitely true. I think you have to look out for yourself a little more than you had to in college.
Yeah.
Because here, it's like it's your performance that keeps you in the position that you're in with the job. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, if you don't perform, there's another guy waiting to play, and he's going to end up taking your spot if you can't do the job.
And it's very cutthroat from what
It
I
is
understand.
very
You know, there's a
cutthroat.
lot of guys. Everyone is super talented.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be on that big league roster. If you get hurt, if you're late, if you're not putting in that work, and these, you know, these big league clubs are potentially investing millions of dollars.
Exactly.
So
Right.
they want to know, oh, Taishi doesn't go out and, you know, get shit faced and do dumb. Like, they're looking at every aspect of your life as a human being. I've heard about teams contacting players' 5th grade teachers. Like, it's insane. But at the same time, if I was about to give somebody $5 million to do, I would want to do the same thing. So
Right.
it's totally understandable. So how many games is a Division I schedule?
62.
62. And what is a minor league schedule?
I think it was like 135 games.
So we hear a lot about the minor league grind.
Mm-hmm.
I know, you know, it seems as though the minor leagues has improved a lot. There's
lot,
less
definitely.
roster spots
Definitely.
because they used to just sign everybody and their mom and then just see what
Yeah.
kind of shook out. But now there's less roster spots. But you know, the facilities are a lot better, pays better,
Mm-hmm.
but still, that's 120, 30 games
Right.
in you know, a couple months. It's not like you're playing 12 months, you're playing, you know, 8, 9 months, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. So what was that like going through that for the first time? Just some of the things you learned during that experience of that schedule.
It's definitely another jump, like Mason said. You kind of go from college where you're playing, you know, you have like that Friday, Saturday, Sunday series that you play, and then maybe that Tuesday midweek. But now you're going to playing, you have that Monday off day, but now you play Tuesday to Sunday every day.
Damn.
And that's throughout the year. There's no like, maybe you get an extra off day on
So
a
you
Sunday.
get one day off.
You get one
Yep.
day off. And then if you're like an everyday guy, you're basically playing 6 times a week, right? And so like you kind of go from a college mindset to where you're scheduled to do certain things that you have to do in the time of the day to where whether it's you're a guy like for me, like I kind of need to lift in order to keep my weight.
Right.
So like I get kind of anal sometimes in terms of like having to lift and stuff, but when you're playing so many games, you kind of
Body's tired.
It's tired. You got to give up certain things in order for you to be able to play the game, which is
Right.
the most important thing. And I think in college, I was a big guy of staying out of the training room because it was like, you know, you get hurt, you get stuck in there, like you get comfortable getting treatment, this
Best
and that.
ability is availability.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
like you learn that the training room too, like it's a pretty important part of your day in terms of getting the treatment that you need in terms of like, you know, maybe you're getting your like calves rubbed out or like your back getting cupped and things to just getting your body right aside from eating and like stretching and
Cold
stuff like that,
tub.
cold tub,
Yep.
just things like that, just so you're able to withstand the 130, 140 game season. It's not like you have to think of it long term instead of short term.
Right. And talk about the travel. Are you guys on buses a lot?
We're on buses, yeah.
Mainly buses all
Mainly
the. And what are these
buses.
buses like? Are they some big, nice buses that have TV screens in the back? And like, what is it like going from one stadium to another? You guys stopping at Chick-fil-A? Like, what?
Honestly, it's really nice. I think Mason had it a lot worse than I did.
I was gonna speak to this
yeah.
a little bit
Because I
when
had-
he was done.
We have charter buses. So it's like on
It's like a Beyonce tour bus.
Yeah, like short trips from like 3 to 4 hours. We have a charter bus where it's like we tend to, for the most part, get our own row. We got 2 buses for the whole team, and then
Oh wow, you get your own
they're-
row.
the-
Damn.
They're hooking us up a lot this
Okay.
year. Yeah, they're hooking us up, and then long term trips. Like we took a trip to like Georgia and New York this year, which was like 8-9 hours. But the position players, we got like sleeper buses.
Really?
Yeah, so we basically had like, you know, like those first class seats in planes.
Yeah.
That's basically what we got.
Oh,
and
that
the
is
pitchers,
damn.
Oh my god.
the pitchers
Fucking
got
asshole.
the pitchers got gypped and had to sit on the regular bus. So they were pissed. But
Stupid pictures.
yeah, but we get treated really nicely, man. We get 2 meals a day. You know,
So yeah, you were telling me you guys get 2 meals a day.
2 meals a day.
You also get like a couple grand a month.
Yeah,
And your living is paid for.
it's paid for. Yeah.
Where that is incredible. Like you're basically eating and living for free and then
Right.
getting a couple grand a month.
Right.
Like that's a damn good deal.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
They
Where
are treating us very nicely.
really good.
Very
How
nicely.
far are we apart in age? I'm 33.
I'm 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
8 years.
8-year gap.
years, yeah.
All right. So in that 8-year span, so let me tell you a little bit about my minor league career. So my first year in independent ball was in 2012. So I was with the Wichita Wingnuts. We were really lucky in terms of bus.
Yeah.
So we got the rapper Eminem's old tour bus as
No
our bus.
way.
It was
That's sick.
hey,
And you're complaining?
That's
hey,
You can only imagine the stains on that bus and things
Hey,
that happen.
that I'll tell you what, that bus was
Jake.
it was fucking cool. Like we had like 3 or 4 TVs on the bus. It was a sleeper bus, so some of the seats were able to recline all the way down to where you're in a laying position.
Oh, that's sick.
Being a rookie though, like I had to sleep on the floor that year. But we were getting paid $800 a month to go play baseball. We were playing, roughly about 25 games a month.
Good Lord.
There was one road trip I vividly remember where we started in Wichita, Kansas. We had to drive all the way down to Laredo, Texas, which was about a 12-hour bus ride. And then from Laredo, we had to go all the way to Winnipeg, Canada. That was a 36-hour bus
Oh
ride.
my
Yeah,
God.
36-hour bus ride. So we had
That's
a day. We had a
brutal.
day off, but during that day off, we were driving all the way up to Winnipeg, Canada. And on top of that, we have to get stopped at the border. Passports get checked. Baggage gets checked. A lot of players at that time were chewing tobacco. We couldn't bring that into Canada, and in Canada, the tins were half the size and twice as much. So, and on top of that too, our team was sponsored by Chick-fil-A. So I know a lot of you guys, maybe not you guys, but a lot of the guys here in the facility know that I don't like Chick-fil-A anymore. We were eating that 6 times a week for months, and it just made me get to the point where I despised having the original Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Oh man,
I
that's
couldn't
a
do it.
tragedy in itself.
What would you
'cause-
do on
Yeah.
Sundays? Like, what would you eat on Sundays if you're sponsored?
Good question.
That is a great question. I think we had peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now I feel like things have changed, in the minor league systems where there are less minor league teams or less minor league players. So now these guys are getting treated how they're supposed to be getting treated as professionals. Whereas with me growing up, going through that grind of independent ball, we didn't get paid as much.
And that $800 a month, did that come? Was your living covered?
So we got set up
You
with
guys
host families.
meal stipends or
No meal stipends.
Host families.
We got stuck with host families. Granted, I was very blessed to have wonderful host families all throughout my career. I have heard, some horror
I bet
stories.
there's some great stories.
There's probably some terrible stories.
Yeah. I've heard some horror stories about, some of these guys getting hooked up with different kinds of host families. But again, I was very blessed with having just wonderful people as my host families. I still, some of them that I'm in contact with, the Weingarts, hey, shout out to you guys. They were probably my favorite host family. Just a wonderful family, husband, wife, 3 kids. All the kids were right around my age, and the 2 older boys loved baseball. So oftentimes we're sitting in their house, watching. It was mainly the Nats at that time, but just awesome experience for me, being a younger player, and just being able to just kind of offload my day with those guys, just getting their perspective of what they're seeing on TV versus what I was going through every night. And, just seeing that realization of, hey, dude, don't complain too much.
Right.
Like, you're getting to do exactly what you want to do. You get to play the game that you love. You're getting paid for it. Granted, it was pennies compared to, what the minor leaguers are making now and what the big league, especially what the big leaguers are making. But it's the pursuit,
Right.
Right. It's the pursuit of the dream. And at the end of the day, do I hate that this guy over here to my left is getting treated a hell of a lot better than I did? Sure. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you were both professional baseball players. Taishi's still current, but you're getting paid to play baseball. You could say I'm a professional baseball player. I was, which is freaking awesome. But I want to do another segment. I know we don't have time today, But I want to do one with us three and Tad. Because Tad is 58. He was in the minors he'd be laughing at the shit yard. He'd be like, oh yeah, Chick-fil-A. Oh yeah, we were eating rat poison. You know what I mean? So I want to do another one. He gets back from Australia February 8th. I think that would be really cool.
I have one question.
What's up?
I've heard a lot about transitions from you too. What was the biggest lesson that you learned through your transitions?
Biggest lesson. I think from high school to college, it had a lot to do with just mentally, being stronger than I was in high school. In high school, I didn't see a lot of failure. I think if I look back at my career, I was probably close to a 350 hitter in high school.
Yeah.
Going to USF, not being the guy right off the bat. My first year at USF, I got about 30 ABs, and then my sophomore year, I got about 50 ABs. I played in more than half of the games, but I was a defensive replacement pretty much my first 2 years. I got, I think, 6 starts my freshman year, and I think I got 10 my sophomore year. But learning the pace of the game, I think those 2 years really helped me. But partly why I wish I would have gone the Juco route in that case. I got about 80 ABs in 2 years, where Taish probably got 400 ABs in those 2 years. And I think that as a player, I would have vastly benefited from those couple years in Juco and probably made my junior and senior year probably a little bit better offensively. But to go back to your question, Jake, from college to pro ball, it was less of a team mentality and more of a this is about me mentality. Because at the end of the day, the team is not getting released. I'm getting released. So if I'm the one not performing on the field, it's my ass on the line. So every day you got to check in with yourself and go, okay, what do I need to accomplish today in order for my evening tonight and tonight's game to be successful? Do I need to get more work in the cage? Do I need to lift more so that way my body's ready for the rest of this week? Do I need to run more? To make sure that my legs are under me, while I'm squatting behind the plate. So it just, as I got older and the level of baseball changed, the need changed, I think that answers.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head on that. I think for me too, it's the mental side of the game for sure, like you said. And I think a big thing for me was maturing. I think I was very immature coming out of high school. I missed weights twice at Juco, missed weights at Irvine too. It's just very immature, getting away with some things that I shouldn't have got away with, I think personally, and I think the teammates that I play with can attest to that. But I think, just growing up and your mental side of the game in terms of it's your ass on the line, like you said. It's like if you don't show up, you don't prepare for yourself, and you don't put in the work at the end of the day, you're the one that's losing your job.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the biggest things. Because the jump that you said you made, no one's holding your hand anymore.
Nope.
It's you're on your own. If you want to do it, you do it. If not, you're done. And it's how far you yourself want to go in this game, and you can take yourself is how far you will go.
Absolutely. And you got two guys right here. Everybody wants to go D1. Everyone wants to be a professional. You got two guys who did both of those things. One straight out of high school, one Juco route. And the biggest thing I'm hearing from both of them is at the end of the day, at the highest levels, it's all on you. This is about you. This is about your work ethic. It's not what your buddies on the team are doing. It's not mom and dad. It's not your brother. It's not about parties and all that shit. If you want to be one of these, the percentage, I don't even know what it is, but it's tiny. If you
minuscule.
If you want to be one of the elite players to even make D1, not even talking about professional, you need to start implementing these habits now. As a middle school and high schooler, you need to understand, I got to go to weights. And not even at practice. Of course, everyone's going to go to weights. Practice, that's average, regular shit. You got to be the guy who's lifting in the off season, who's thinking about these things, doing everything yourself. Mom and dad can't want it for you. Coach can't want it for you. It comes from you.
Yep.
doesn't matter how talented you are at the highest levels, everyone is talented, and you're not going to make it, especially when you don't have the structure, you don't have the teammates who are really looking out for you, you don't have mom and dad. That's what it comes down to. So, guys, I mean, this is great lessons, gems right here. I hope people got value out of this. Appreciate everyone here today. I think we had a lot of great segments. If you didn't see the segment on free agency and then the Hall of Fame, definitely go back and check that out. If you didn't see last week's episode of Jackson Holiday, definitely go watch that. You want to talk about a young man who's very mature, understands what it's about, puts the work in as a grinder. He dropped some really big gems. Also, one of the greatest high school players of all time. This dude hit 685 in high school.
That's unreal.
Set the national record of all time for most hits in a single high school season. 89 hits in 40 games.
That's stupid.
17 jacks.
The kid's legit.
He's legit. And yeah, you can say, oh, his dad was in the big leagues. He got this, he got that. At the end of the day, he had to put in the work. He had to keep his nose clean. He's done every single thing right. So we're trying to bring you guys value. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Shout out to our sponsors, South Bay Credit Union and Restore Hyper Wellness. Appreciate everybody for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You're listening to Sandlot and the Crew here on Wrecking Yard Baseball. And I'm your host, Will Kiger, Taishi Nakawake, Mason Morioka, Jake Hicks. Give us a follow on Instagram. Follow Wrecking Yard Baseball. Follow Sandlot Radio Show. And follow Sandlot and the Crew. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one.